Hello, everybody. My name is Martha Alter Hines, and I'm with Living the One Light. All right. In this video, I am going to talk about really magical new moon in Pisces that we have coming up. And there's a main overarching theme that I'm being asked to talk about, and then I'm gonna go through the astrology of it first. I'll speak from me, Martha, and then I will channel a little bit and see what else wants to come through. So the overarching theme, though, that I'm being asked to speak to, and when I'm praying on it, is a very beautiful, recurring perspective on sacred sexuality. So, and this is a very Piscean version of sacred sexuality. I've talked several months ago, there was a big theme for me in the astrology around sacred sexuality, but that was more of an Eros kind of an energy. Eros and Hygeia were conjunct last year in Aquarius for almost the whole year. They were going back and forth in this conjunction, and Eros had actually been conjunct Pluto when Pluto first entered Aquarius in March of 2023. So I felt this theme of sacred sexuality and the healing around sacred sexuality is very alive all of last year. And now, in a slightly different way, a similar theme is very present in this new moon. And actually in a lot of the energetics of the year, but in a slightly different way from last year. So yeah, so that's the main theme. But let me show you the chart, and I will kind of walk through some of the astrology, and then I'll channel a little bit in a few minutes. Okay. So here is the new moon itself. So the new moon is going to be exact on very, very early in the morning Pacific time on March 10th, 2024. And it will be at 20 degrees, 16 minutes of Pisces. And so just to name some of the main aspects of this chart that, jump out at me, and then I'll dive into my feeling on them. Number one, of course, the new moon, again, exists here with the moon and the sun conjunct at 20 degrees, 16 minutes of Pisces, but very, very close on either side of the new moon is Nessus, which is one of the four main centaurs, which for me brings in this element of ancestral healing and lots of other themes there, but that's the biggest thing that pops up for me whenever I see any of the centaurs. And then Hygeia. And I've talked about Hygeia also in many other videos. And like I said, last year, Eros, the asteroid, and Hygeia were conjunct in the mid degrees of Aquarius, near where actually Cheroklo was and now is. So if you haven't seen the video that I put out a week ago with Melanie, Reinhart, and Skidmore, we talked a lot about Cheroklo, and Melanie had the most beautiful observation of this healing chalice, essentially in the in the first half of Aquarius right now so there's this space between Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius, and then Cheroklo at 15 degrees of Aquarius, where a bunch of personal planets have been passing. And so she was pointing this out as like a healing crucible. I think those were her words. Anyway, that was a whole beautiful conversation. Definitely go back and listen to that if you haven't. But so last year, Eros, the asteroid, and Hygeia were conjunct almost the whole year, right in the same vicinity as Cheroklo. And yeah, so there's this theme last year, but now Hygeia is in Pisces. And by the time of this new moon, Eros has been near the North Node in Aries. And by the time of this new moon, it will have moved into Taurus. So to have Hygeia in Pisces conjunct the new moon, especially also with Neptune there, I've been praying on this, and I keep getting shown, maybe this will come through in the channeling part too. I keep getting shown essentially the double helix of the divine feminine and the divine masculine coming together inside our being, inside our body, our energy body, our essence body, and our physical body. And Hygeia is the goddess of healing and hygiene. She is she's a really beautiful being who, for me, what has tended to show up for me when I'm tuning into her is a reminder that we need to come back to our bodies and the wisdom of our bodies. But what is coming up for me even more alive in the energetic of this particular new moon is what I'm feeling as a holding space that Hygeia also has for divine sexuality and divine inner union. So you can see, I mean, her symbol, right? She's associated with a snake. She's associated with the idea of the union of the feminine and the masculine coming together to create balance and harmony and healing. That's what I feel. That's what I'm being shown in my prayers over and over again with her presence, in particular with this new moon. And so, like I said, there are so many themes right now in the month of February, but then also in the month of March and in the month of April, over and over and over again in all different ways, having to do with healing around our relationship between the feminine and the masculine, our relationship to sexuality itself. And there's a very powerful possibility of our Kundalini or our life force energy being activated right now. So I've talked about that in previous videos. And so I'll just name here various components of how I'm seeing that theme over and over again. And then I'll speak to a little bit of what I'm feeling that is so important as these themes are alive. Because number one, as I've said many times in other videos, it's just so key that we are grounded and we're doing things to take care of ourselves so that we are present with our bodies, our physical earth bodies, but also, just really clear and grounded and safe and held, because as these energies come alive, in particular, the Jupiter coming closer and closer to Uranus in Taurus, the energy can be so powerful and so strong, it can throw people off pretty powerfully. So, okay. So I'm just going to name there, so many ways in which the same theme is coming up over and over and over and over again. And I'm probably going to miss some. Okay, so number one, this theme of sacred sexuality and the healing of the inner feminine, inner masculine. I'll just name all the ones that I'm seeing here. Number one, Hygeia is conjunct the new moon, and is getting very close to Neptune in Pisces. Number two, we just had this Venus-Mars conjunction that Chris and Melanie and I talked about a lot in that video I just did with them last week. So their conjunction happened at, was it 6-ish of Aquarius, just last week. And in addition, Eros was just on the North Node. It's passed by now. We also have but humongous Chiron. We just had the Chiron North Node conjunction. Depending on, like, I go by true nodes. Typically, Melanie was using mean nodes, and I don't think there's a right or a wrong. But if you go by the mean node of the moon, actually the Chiron North Node conjunction doesn't happen until March 5th. So bottom line, we're in that North Node Chiron conjunction right now, but either way you put it. And Chiron being on the North Node, you know, among a bazillion other things, it's just holds so much potential for healing. It holds so much potential for healing around our relationship to the masculine, Aries. It holds so much relationship to healing around and bringing energy to our relationship with our energy body. I associate Chiron so much with the energy body. And then we also have Jupiter coming to that conjunction with Uranus, which will be exact on April 20th at 21 degrees of Taurus. And so this whole time, you know, we're moving toward that. And actually on April 8th, we're also going to have that new moon eclipse, which will, that new moon on April 8th will be 1 minute conjunct Chiron. So again, Chiron, even though it's, you know, going to be moving away from the North Node, is still going to be so powerfully present in that eclipse of April 8th. And then again, actually next October, I want to say, there is a full moon in Aries conjunct Chiron also that is almost an eclipse and is really, really powerful. So Chiron has this presence this whole year that's, yeah, really strong. And also, just as a side note, I am going to be holding an eclipse gathering to dive into the 2 eclipses of this eclipse season on March 11th. So it will be live and recorded. If you are interested in being there, obviously sign up. In that workshop, I'm going to talk about what eclipses are in terms of the astronomy of eclipses. I'll briefly touch on that. And then I'll talk about the various components of the 2 eclipses we're having, one on March 25th and one on April 8th. And, you know, there are so many themes there. And so I'll dive into some of that. The one on March 25th has a really interesting dance with Kelley, the asteroid Kelley. So I'm going to talk about that in that workshop. And then, of course, the one on April 8th is just out of the park in terms of how powerful it is. And, you know, there with that Chiron conjunction. And then in that workshop also, then I'll also channel a time for you to come into, you know, your own feeling, your own knowing of what is alive for you in this eclipse season. And I'll talk also about the way that eclipses are parts of cycles, like multiple cycles. So eclipses are really not necessarily so much about an exact moment, although it can be, but it's like I feel them as just like the turning of time and the turning of like they become portals where you can just flip into your alignment with the divine in a really powerful way over and over and over again, you know, through the cycles of time. So I'll speak to that in that workshop. Also, yeah. So anyway, that's going to be on Monday, March 11th. If you would like to be there, please sign up. Okay. So, but this new moon actually will be happening the day before that workshop, interestingly. And yeah, so, but back to the theme of sacred sexuality. So yeah, Chiron, North Node, Jupiter, Uranus conjunction, Hygeia with the new moon, the Mars, Venus conjunction that just happened, et cetera, et cetera. And then one other thing I'll just point out also is that also at the time of this new moon, Juno, the asteroid, will be opposite Saturn. And Juno, to me, is all about the inner sacred union. So she is the goddess of marriage, quote unquote, but I see her really as bringing us back again to that inner sacred union in ourselves. Certainly, I think she can show up in ways that, reflect our outer relationships too, but to have Saturn opposite Juno is just a really beautiful, like Saturn is bringing strength to so many things right now. And so I feel that Saturn Juno opposition as, maybe Saturn again just holding space for us to really come into integrity and come into taking responsibility for our own knowing of the sanctity of our own inner union and the sanctity of the way we relate to others also, for sure. But yeah, anyway, so there's just this theme. Oh, and huge. Another part of the chart another cosmic being that absolutely is related to sacred sexuality is Vesta. So Vesta, the asteroid, is going to be, at the time of this new moon, will be at 24 degrees of Gemini. And so that will be squaring Hygeia. And a little more loosely, but still squaring the new moon. So Vesta, on a basic level, she is the goddess of the hearth. She's associated with the Vestal virgins, and to me, she's the part of us that's the keeper of our own inner temple. And Vesta also has to do with the reality that we are sovereign beings. We are beings of the divine in these temple being bodies, and our sexuality is devotional, or can be devotional, to God and to Earth and to ourselves. And so Vesta, to me, is this reminder that we can choose to, engage with the other, for example, through sexuality, but then we have the opportunity and the ability to come back fully into our own sovereignty and the temple being of ourselves, and even to sacred ritual way. I'm losing the grammar on that, but in a sacred way, we can choose to come fully back into the sovereignty of our own being, and and be whole unto ourselves. And then we can choose again in a sacred way to engage, to open, to be in sexual relationship with another human, or whatever it is, that means literally and or metaphorically, whatever it happens to be. So she's bringing this Hygeia new moon conjunction into just an extra reminder of the sanctity of our sacred sexuality. Well, or my goodness, my mind. Okay, yeah. Sacred sexuality implies sanctity, but Vesta is just like adding extra layers of the same thing there. So so those are the astrological components that I'm seeing here. And you can already probably just get a feeling of what I'm talking about. But now let me take a moment to say a little bit more. Actually, yeah. I'm going to say one more thing about the astrology. Just one other thing I just realized I forgot to say. So the other really cool thing, so in a slightly different theme, but I'm just going to point it out, is that also at the time of this new moon, Mercury, which has been in Pisces and traveling through all of this, will at the time of this new moon be at 0 degrees of Aries. So 0 degrees of Aries is the very first degree of the whole entire zodiac. And something that's really important to me about that 0 degree Aries point, it's important because it's the beginning of the entire zodiac. But for me, something that's key is that we usually think of Aries as the beginning. And what I have done actually in my Infinite Soul Wisdom astrology course is that we're going, month by month through the zodiac. And each month we're going to be focusing on one zodiac sign. So the month of March is going to be our first month where we're focused on a particular zodiac sign. And I was guided very specifically not to start with Aries, to start with Pisces, because Pisces is the alpha and the omega. It's the beginning and the end. So Aries is really, really key and important to me and how I'm guided. That Aries comes out of Pisces. And so that's something I'm going to talk a lot more about in the astrology course, but as you can see, for example, Mercury has just done a whole little journey through all of this Pisces time, and then it gets to 0 Aries. So what that means on a basic level is when we start anything, 0 degrees of Aries is very much it's an energy of literally the beginning, the start, like the seed, like the spark of, an ignition. It's an ignition point, literally. But it doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes out of Pisces. So it comes out of the divine. The Pisces is everything. It's the nothing of the everything and the everything of the nothing. And that's what Aries emerges from, just like us, just like everything. So that's something just to be with, but it's really, really fascinating to me that, at the time of this new moon in Pisces, we have all this activity going on in Pisces, including Neptune still being in Pisces, and Neptune is one of the rulers of Pisces, right? So all this presence in Pisces, and then we have Mercury, which is the fastest of moving of the planets, having just barely come out of Pisces, and it's now sitting right there at 0 degrees of Aries. And another thing I love about that point right now is that it has Manway. So Manway is currently at I think 2 degrees of Aries. Manway is one of the Kuiper Belt objects. And I've talked about him before. His partner is Varda. And Manway and Varda are characters in the Tolkien novel that was the Silmarillion, if I'm saying that correctly. There go the balloons. Where these balloons come from on Zoom. But so they are 2 main characters in a novel written by J.R.R. Tolkien that was published right after he was born. And oh my goodness, after he died, he was maybe born into the afterlife, but yeah, they are both creator, god and goddess, and they're beautiful. So we have Manway sitting at that very beginning of the zodiac at now, 2 degrees of Aries, right there where Mercury is going to be. And then Varda, they both move very slowly. Varda has been sitting and still is sitting near the galactic center. I think she's probably at 28-ish degrees of Sagittarius right now. So, and she's squaring Neptune. So Neptune is in this long-term, right, this whole year, squaring the galactic center, and Varda is sitting there on the galactic center. And Varda is the wife, the partner of Manway. So what I feel in that, similar to all this Pisces energy and Mercury sitting on 0 degrees of Aries, is that it's this reminder that when we create anything, Manway, this creator god, when we're at that starting point of Aries, that starting point of anything, we're in partnership with and being guided by and being informed by Source itself. So the galactic center to me is just a direct connection with source. It's the center of our galaxy. And so Varda, the wife of Manwë, is sitting with the galactic center. And then we have Manwë sitting here at this very beginning of Aries, holding the space. They're in this, again, they move very slowly. So they're there for quite a while. And but right this minute, at the moment of this new moon, we have Mercury sitting there with Manwë too, with all of this happening in Pisces, sort of like grounding us back into the reality that we are source. Anything that we want to do, Aries, anything we want to start, Aries, comes out of our relationship and our reality as source. So super, super beautiful. Okay. All right. I'm just going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to channel a little bit. So I want to talk a little bit about the sacred sexuality, and I think maybe this will come through even better in the channeling. Because it's more of a felt thing than something I can really intellectually explain. And some of this just might be really, really obvious, but hopefully this will feel like a helpful reminder in some way. Or maybe it'll feel brand new. I don't know. So what I'm feeling called to say is that, again, there are many components to and aspects of and experiences of sacred sexuality. And that Jupiter Uranus conjunction is one energetic of it. So for me, that Jupiter moving toward Uranus is very, very electric. It's a combination of electricity, Uranus, Kundalini energy, Uranus, and Earth, Taurus. So that's like this, it's a very embodied, but very, very powerful and very electric, like waking up that can be happening in our bodies, especially as we're getting closer and closer to April, that April 20th conjunction. So, and that energetic can be very overpowering if we're not grounded, if we're not, really taking time to just really maintain what we need to support ourselves as we're experiencing that. At the same time, the energetic of this Hygeia in Pisces conjunct the new moon in Pisces is also, to me, about the sacred sexuality, but it is much more ethereal. It is embodied. It's definitely a physical body phenomenon, but it is really gentle, I feel. That's how I'm feeling it. And so it's bringing up an experience I had that I'm wanting to convey. So you may have heard me talk about this before, but maybe a year and a half ago, I was with a client in person, and I was essentially I won't talk about this person. I'll just say what came through, that felt really important on a bigger level, not just for the client. What I was shown, what I was told was, no matter who we are, no matter what age we are, no matter whether we're in any kind of relationship or not, no matter whether we feel sexually attractive or even interested in sexuality at all, what the spirit world was saying to me, and really, really, saying in a very imperative way, was it is crucial that our sacred sexuality be fully alive and in balance. So they were saying to me, like, even if a person is, let's say, 101 years old, 97 years old, whatever it is, they're alive and they're in a body. And all living things have this sacred sexuality. So even like a tree has this aliveness, right? That's moving through them. And in our human world, we have attached lots of meaning to sexuality that is not necessarily incorrect, but is not in line with the essence of what it really actually is. And we know this, right? But so I'm just going to say a few things again, hopefully maybe will be helpful reminder, or maybe you're hearing it for the first time, and hopefully be helpful either way. So there's so much messaging in our world that sexuality can only be a certain set of things, right? It's either something we're going after and that we have to like win, or something that's potentially very traumatic, or it's something that only certain people deserve, or only certain people are valuable enough to have. You know, it's like it has all these qualifiers to it and a lot of potential negative feelings, difficult feelings, and very beautiful and wonderful ones also, all of the above. Okay. So what they keep saying to me is, you know, that all has its truth in the human experience, but the essence, the actual essence of sacred sexuality is pure essence. And it is pure, it is a healing, it is a component of our health care to be engaged, not necessarily to be sexually active, that's not the point, but to engage with the just like if you imagine again a tree, right? And you imagine a really alive, thriving tree, you can feel how that tree would have this energetic moving from the earth through the whole trunk and through the branches and out into the stars, and there's just be this aliveness there. So it's the same thing with us. We are beings of the earth and of creation, the life force of creation itself. That's the essence of sacred sexuality, is actually the life force of creation, which is in a tree, which is in a flower, which is in a dolphin, which is in plankton, which is in the stars, which, you know, it's in us, and it's in everything. And when we have this notion that we attach to sexuality all these other ideas, we often then what ends up happening is that we shut off this life force that is just it's literally what we come from, and it's who we are. And so that Hygeia in Pisces conjunct the new moon, to me, is it's really holding space for us to be coming back into the essence, that gentle, more ethereal but embodied essence of that life force moving. And one other component also that arises for me in all of that is the connection of the Pisces energy and also the Hygeia and Pisces energy to the spirit world. So I associate Pisces also very much with like fairies and gnomes and angels, certainly, and, you know, lots and lots of other realm beings. And something that I talked a lot about in the Spirit Allies series that I held a few months ago, it's fully now recorded and available for you. It's actually at a discounted price now if you are interested in hearing more about this. I'll put the link here. But something I talked about in that series a lot is I have had so many experiences, and I've heard some of you talk about this too. I've had so many experiences with beings of various realms, including, again, like gnomes and fairies and angels and unicorns and all those many different kinds that are very much about helping us to remember infinite forms of healing realities and healing traditions. So again, this is very Hygeia in Pisces, very Hygeia in Pisces. And yeah, my own, anyway, Hygeia is very prominent in my own chart. Actually, it's on my ascendant in Virgo, conjunct my moon on my ascendant, but opposite my sun in Pisces. Okay. So yeah, so the Hygeia energy, I feel so strongly in me. It kind of is, it's on my ascendant. It's very definitely alive in me. But Hygeia in Pisces is really it's the healing, it's the healer energy of this of source and of all these realms. And it's just like I could really cry. I mean, yeah. If you want to hear more, go to the Spirit Allies series. There's just so much I could say. But these other spirit realms are wanting and really needing to show us and remind us of these infinite other healing modalities that we, I think, have used to know and have forgotten. And what they're really all about, all the ones I've been shown in various ways, they all come back to one thing. And that one thing is that all these beings have various ancient ways of bringing us back to the ultimate, complete, total balance and harmony of source itself, which is what we are. Again, Hygeia and Pisces. And so they have different techniques, just so many different kinds. So many, yeah, again, it can make me cry. It's so beautiful to engage with them in that way. And I know many of you have had those kind of experiences also. And so they're here and they're wanting to share that with us. They're wanting to engage with us in that way. And what they bottom line show me is that we know, our bodies know, like a tree knows what it needs to balance and heal and come back into its own healthiness. A star knows, the earth knows, life knows how to come back to the balance and harmony of life. It doesn't mean that it always does. It might need to actually in the physical form, move on, but it's our natural way to know. And these beings have, again, infinite ways of how they help bring back that radical balance and harmony. And one of the key components in that is this coming back to the aliveness of just the gentleness of that sacred sexuality, or the ultimate, the divine life force of source itself moving in our bodies. Okay, I think that's all the human Martha me needs to say right this second. So let me drop in now and see what wants to come through in a little bit of channeling. Okay. Okay, hello and welcome. And yes, so we are here today as actually a council of infinite beings of so many realms, all converging as one, the one, Pisces as the one of everything, and the collective knowing of infinity, of everything and nothing. So the ultimate reality is that we are just simply source, and then source does a dance. And source does this dance of infinite ways of manifesting as the divine, and you are one of those ways. And we are here as an energetic of many, 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 again, infinite ways. So we're here as various animals, the wolves and elephants and whales and dolphins. We're here as the spirit of many plants and so many spirit allies, fairies, gnomes, unicorns, angels, dragons, through infinite dimensions, all of time, all of space. We're here as the earth. We're here as the cosmos, the stars, everything, all as the one. And the main message we all are conveying all at the same time is that, again, there has been this time of forgetting, and now is this time of remembering. And one of the biggest things that you can do, that is possible, that is needed in this time, is a remembering of the complete, total wholeness of you. And in that wholeness is the reality of yourself as the life force of the divine itself, and yourself as the oneness, the wholeness, and the totality of beautiful, healing, whole, divine masculine, and the beautiful, healing, whole of the divine feminine, weaving together as the one wholeness of existence back into source itself. So again, the feminine and the masculine are really just the one. And there's been this choice to do a dancing of feminine on its own and masculine on its own. But then there is the need to be coming back together as the one. Not necessarily in human heterosexual relationship. That's not the point. The union is in yourself, in the totality and the wholeness of who you are, because that's where it begins. And then if you choose to be in relationship with a person of any gender, the key is the wholeness that you are carrying inside yourself. And that wholeness then can be in relation with the wholeness of another being who may identify with or manifest as any gender. And you may identify with and manifest as any gender. But it's the wholeness in you that creates the wholeness then back into the all that is. And just briefly, again, we do encourage you to come back into this reality of yourself as the literal life force of source itself that moves through you, that moves through all things, and that is, again, the wholeness of reality, the wholeness of who you are, of what life is, of what it is to be alive and dancing and moving and enjoying yourself in all ways, in this being that you are of earth and cosmos and the divine, with beauty and love moving through you, whoever you are and wherever you are. That joy that is the pure essence of the divine sexuality that is you is what is fueling everything. It fuels your mitochondria inside your cells. It fuels the nanoparticles of all of atoms, the atoms through everything. It's a joy and like a dancing within every single one of the subatomic particles of your atoms. That joy exists, that love exists, and that dancing and fun exists. Whoever you are, whatever age you are, whatever gender you are, it just is. And it's this aliveness that we want to remind you of and to hold space for it to come fully back online in you in whatever way is just right for you and your absolute radical highest good and in the highest good of the all that is. And we encourage this. We're here to support it. We love you through infinity and beyond, literally. That's what you are. That's what we are. We are love itself. You are love itself. And we're here to celebrate, to come back into a reunion. Literally, this is a reunion of all of us as manifestations of the divine, and the infinite ways in which we as source, we as the divine have chosen to move and to dance. We are now back in a remembering of the reunion that is who we are, both in our diversity and the unity of ourselves as the one. And so it is. Amen. Right. Yeah. Actually, that reminded me of one more component I'm going to show you on the chart of this new moon too. It's a component that's alive not only at this new moon, but I'll just show it to you because they were touching on this. So there's also this really beautiful grand Earth trine. Jupiter is trining Ceres. That's been going on for a little while. But then as Juno moves, it's going retrograde. And as it goes back, into this 11-degree point of Virgo, which is where it will be at the time of this new moon, it will create a grand Earth trine there with Jupiter and Ceres. And so again, this is Ceres is Earth mothers, very nurturing in an Earth sign. Jupiter in Taurus, bringing us into our bodies, into the reality of ourselves as Earth and body. And Juno in Virgo, the inner sacred union, our commitment to our own sacredness and our own reality as inner feminine and inner masculine as one. Opposite Saturn in Pisces, right? So I feel in this also this reminder of enjoying the simplest, most simple, teeny tiny things, and like enjoying it to its fullest. You know, yeah, we each have our own ways maybe of this, but for example, for me here in central Southern California on the coast, we just had tons and, you know, humongous storms, gigantic storms, and there was a lot of flooding, including in my own house. That's a whole story, but um and uh but now everything is blooming and it smells amazing, and it's in the 60s and it's just unbelievably gorgeous. And so I've been going for my walks, but I'll just sit in my bed next to the window, and I will just like, because there's a ocean breeze that comes through my bedroom window, and I'll just sit there and just like marvel. So unbelievable, you know, just to be able to breathe in this air it smells like eucalyptus trees and ocean, and I can smell certain flowers are starting to bloom. And I recognize I do live in paradise. So this is maybe it's a little privileged, but I think that's true for us on so many levels, right? There are little teeny tiny things we can just enjoy and just like choose to just be with it. So even I'm just trying to think of some really simple things that you could get essential oils, for example, and maybe you have a favorite essential oil. Like I love rose. And sometimes I'll just put a little bit of rose essential oil, like right here on my inside of my wrist. And then, you know, you can smell it or put it some kind of on your face and just choose to enjoy it. That's so Taurus, super Taurus. But this grand earth trine is just like, feels to me like it's reminding us to just soak it in. And then also the Hygeia, just be present with our bodies, just enjoy it, because actually so much of the wisdom of what we need comes from a remembering of enjoyment and of listening to our bodies when we're both, you know, struggling, but also when we're in enjoyment. So that's a whole topic, and that's a whole journey. but but yeah, I'll leave you with that. um Great. Okay. So much there. I would love to hear any of your thoughts, any of your own reflections. I know lots of you have lots of experiences with these things as well. Um, and yes, if you feel called, definitely join me for that eclipse gathering. Again, that's going to be on March 11th, Monday. It'll be recorded and live and recorded. So you do not need to be there live, but I would welcome you, of course. And if you are intrigued and you want to hear more about the Spirit Allies series, lots of you are already involved in it. But if you weren't and you want more, then I will put that link here too. Um, and if you are called to be part of the astrology course, there's room for maybe like one or two more people. So you are welcome still if you want to join that. And in the end of March, I do have some time. My time for one-on-one sessions is somewhat limited right now, but I do have some times, and toward the end of March, I have a little more opening because my kids will be away for a few days, so I have a little bit of more time there. If you are wanting a session, that's a good time for that. But you can always look at my calendar. There are always times available, just not as much necessarily as there used to be, but I love doing one-on-one sessions, so definitely feel free to sign up for that. Yeah, I think that's all for now. Let me know if you have any questions, comments. I'd love for you to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. And I love when you leave comments and like it and all that, so I know what you like. And yeah, Wonderful. All right. See you soon.